Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I don't want to give you a heart attack, but did you know that today was Purim?
Oh, kind of.
Kind of. Ah, okay. It was a variety of Purim. Don't worry, you haven't missed the Megillah reading, you haven't missed the carnival, you haven't missed all of the other fun of Purim. Today was what is known as Purim Katan, the little Purim, because we are in the first month of the month of Purim, the month of Adar, and there's going to be a month number 2 for Adar next month. We are in the leap year cycle, which means that Purim doesn't come during its regular first Adar appearance, it comes during next Adar, because otherwise Passover would come a month early, and we can't have Passover happening while it's still winter. Even if we don't always feel winter the same way here in Florida, it's still not allowed. So, don't worry, you didn't miss anything, which means you still have time to get ready for the big Purim.
Does Jewish leap year typically line up with non-Jewish leap year?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, because we've got a very complicated 19-year cycle of how the leap years work, and there are multiple leap years within that 19-year cycle. They say that those who are the true wise can do the intercalation of the calendar. I am not one of them. My math did not reach that level. It's extremely complicated math to make sure everything works out exactly the way it should. A fascinating field if you're interested in mathematics or calendars or just how holidays end up being where they are. But I'm not going to go into it because I am not qualified, and certainly not without a whiteboard behind me. But I do want to make sure that we use our spare month to actually get ready for Purim. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, what get ready? It's not like it's Passover, right? Passover, there's a lot to get ready for. Purim, so it's, you just, yay, boo, what's to get ready? Well, there are 4 mitzvot that go along with Purim. What are they? Give me a mitzvah for Purim. Reading the Megillah, the most famous aspect of Purim. The reason why we have Purim is because it is written in the document that we will then read. We read the Megillah on Purim. We read it both in the evening as well as in the morning. Make sure that you check your handout for the precise dates and times.
Give to the needy.
Give to the needy. Matanot le'evyonim. We also are commanded to give gifts to those that are needy. Now, yes, we give tzedakah all the time throughout the year, at least hopefully we are doing so. And I will remind you that we have our little pantry right out front that you can drop off food in for those that are needy in the community anytime that you are in the neighborhood. But on Purim in particular, we want to make sure that we are giving also traditionally food for those that are in need, precisely so that they can also enjoy the holiday of Purim. Because nothing will really kill the mood of a day like having to be hungry the entire day because you don't have food. So, read the Megillah, give gifts to the poor. We've got 2 more mitzvahs to go.
I wonder. Send gifts to friends also.
Send gifts to friends also. Yes, we remember those that are in need, but we also remember each other, even if we're not in need. And giving what we call mishloach manot, the sending of gifts to each other, is also one of the main mitzvahs of Purim. Again, traditionally, also food. Says, nothing says I love you like food. That does seem to be a running theme throughout many of our holidays. Which means we've only got 1 mitzvah left to go.
Also in the Sephardic tradition, they have a Seder for Purim.
Well, let's take the word Seder out of there because we don't need to make it so formal.
Yeah, but they have a dinner that I call it's a Seder form.
Well, there's another wonderful word that's used, seudah. Seudah for Purim. This is your Purim feast. Now, you understand where all that food is going, right? It's because on Purim we are supposed to rejoice with a feast. Now, why a feast? Well, because most of the main events of the story of Purim happened over dinner. That is to say that most of the story unfolded because of the parties. And as such, we're going to have our party too, also because, we're still here. And that's kind of a thing we want to celebrate. So, we have a Purim feast. When? At what point during the day of Purim do we have it? Remember, Purim begins in the evening, finishes the next night. At some point we need to have a feast. Can it be just whenever we feel like it? Not exactly, because there is an element of this feast that is quite famous and for some people overly emphasized that would pour down rain upon us. That means we need to schedule the feast very, very carefully. That element, of course, is the imbibing of additional lubrication to our joy. The idea that one should drink in greater measure than usual on Purim. Well, if you were to drink in greater measure in the evening of Purim, this year Saturday night, then you run the very real risk of not being able to get up the next morning to hear the reading of the Megillah in the morning. And thus you would be stumbling on a mitzvah. Or you might be able to get up, but how much are you going to enjoy those groggers when you've got a hangover? Right? It's, everybody shouting boo Haman while your head is thumping. Probably not going to enjoy that. Likewise, if you were to start drinking before you go for services on that morning, you're also probably not going to be in good shape. Remember, you need to actually have your wits about you during the recitation of the Megillah, the same way that you have to have your wits about you during the chanting of the Torah. It takes a focus, and one thing alcohol doesn't help with is focus, and don't believe anyone who tells you otherwise, especially if they're holding keys to a car. So, when do we have it? In the afternoon. As was common in many parts of the world, and still to this day, it was the mid and early afternoon feast, when you would sit down and you would eat all of the lovely gifts that you had exchanged with everyone, and maybe even invite those that were poor to your table rather than only giving them a gift for their own, and celebrate with a free-flowing enjoyment of the day. Makes sense, right? Fortunately, that's not the way a lot of people do it, and that's why in large Jewish communities there can be accidents with people getting in their car after the evening service in particular. So I will warn you about that. But I want to look at a bigger question. Do we actually need to prepare to have fun? Because recognize what we've got going here is a lot of work to have fun. But isn't fun spontaneous? No, you're providing lovely commentary over here, but no one else is hearing it.
What people don't realize is whether you did it or somebody else did it, it typically when a great time is had, somebody put a lot of effort into it.
Right. Whether you were the one involved or whether someone else was involved and whether you even noticed that someone else was involved, it takes a lot of work to make things happen spontaneously. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of work to set things up so that people around the table will be able to have fun. Who cooked that food? Who prepared it? Who made sure that everyone had enough? Who made sure everyone had a place to go? Who was making sure that the Megillah was being read, making sure that everyone was able to actually experience the joy? It takes a lot of work to make fun. And in Judaism, we believe that fun is something worth working for. Judaism doesn't say, you'll be happy when it happens to happen. Judaism says there are certain times when we must be happy. Purim is one of them, a life cycle event such as a bar or bat mitzvah coming up very soon, the brit milah for a new boy, the simchat bat for a new girl, a wedding. There are so many things that we are actually commanded to rejoice during. Not merely if you're happy, it's okay, but you must work to make sure you can prime the situation, thus happiness will be at least possible. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed. Sometimes things will still diminish the joy that we have even with the best laid plans, but without those plans, the chances of joy are vastly diminished, and Judaism wants us to enjoy life. There is time for grieving and time for celebrating, as the book of Kohelet mentions. Now, we are very fortunate here at Temple Israel because we also don't leave these things to chance. We have volunteers that help make sure that things like Purim and our Passover Seder and all of our other exciting times can be scheduled and can be staffed properly, thanks to the help of so many different people, that the good time can occur. As you know, we are celebrating this as a volunteer Shabbat, and there'll be much more to say about that tomorrow. But recognize, even as we are getting ready to have our Purim celebration, that such celebrations don't just accidentally happen. Not only are we commanded to do them individually, but it is thanks to the effort of many, many people within our community that any given holiday or any given celebration comes off being the joyous event that it should be. All you have to do is show up, but others have worked behind the scenes. However, there is a certain blessing of joy that comes from helping behind the scenes as well. So if you are ever interested in helping out with Purim or any other activity at the congregation, talk to me or any one of our other volunteers, and we'll put you to work, and I bet you'll get a smile on your face.